As a leader, your impact is not just measured by the success of your organization during your time there. It's also measured by the legacy that you leave behind. That lasting impact that you make on your team, your stakeholders, and your industry. Now, building a leadership legacy is not easy, but it's essential if you want to create a lasting change and inspire others to follow in your footsteps. In today's episode, listeners, we'll discuss the 5 steps to building a leadership legacy that will sort of go along with you after you have moved on from your role. In other words, it's going to continue
each week
while you are not
provide information
there.
and
Let's
insights
discuss.
through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas.
Welcome to the Ask Denis episode. This is a freestyle episode where I'm asked a question by our listeners, or I share my thoughts, experiences, and insights from working with many leaders around the globe. Hey there, listeners. Well, I want to keep promoting the podcast and lifting its visibility, so I'll ask you, if you haven't already done so, to leave a review and a rating, especially if you're listening to this today on Apple. If you're able to listen to it on Apple Podcasts, that would be great. If you listen to this on Spotify, all you can do is give us a rating, but that still will really help with the visibility of the podcast. Well, I also want to say thank you to those who have given me some comments, because I get people calling me, sending me messages about what they are achieving in life and as a leader, or in business as a leader, but also what they are actually getting from the different episodes, whether that be an interview or whether that be the actual freestyle Ask Denis episodes as well. So it's my pleasure to bring you these episodes. And so let's get into today's topic, the 5 essential steps to building a leadership legacy. Now, building a leadership legacy is not easy, but it's really essential if you want to create that lasting change and inspire others to follow in your footsteps. In this episode, we're going to discuss what those 5 steps to building a leadership legacy that will endure long after you have moved on from your role. We're also going to explore a concept here called l'amener accept et imperative, and that is how it can help you to create a culture of continuous learning and development. So we're going to cover that a little bit further on. So whether you're a seasoned leader or if you're starting out as a leader, this episode is going to provide you with the insights and tools you need to build a legacy that inspires and empowers others. That's right. I'm not just talking about those who are seasoned leaders. You see, for you to start building a leadership legacy, it also means if you're starting out in a role as a leader, it starts now. And so it's really important for us to go through these. So let's get into the 5 steps. Now, the first step here is to find your leadership vision and values. I'm talking about yours. I'm not talking about the organizations. I'm talking about your leadership vision and values. You see, as a leader, when you're defining your vision of values, that's really building the foundation to help build a legacy, a clear vision and a set of values that are going to help guide you with your decisions, your behaviors, and your actions. See, at times you're going to be tested. And at times, you're going to have to refer back to that clear vision, also to your values that are going to really help you and guide you. It's essential to communicate your vision and the values to your team and stakeholders so that they can understand your perspective and work toward helping you achieve your goals. It's also important to ensure that your vision and your values are aligned with the mission and the values of the organization. If there's a misalignment, it's probably not going to work out well for you. So you need to make sure that they are aligned as well. Here in New Zealand, the college, now in this country we call it college, but actually probably in the USA or in other countries as well, you'll more than likely will call it high school. So it's before you go to university. And so we had a saying within the college. It was a Latin term, and it was limina accept et imperiti. And if I translate that, it means receive the light and pass it on. And as a leader, this means that you should seek out knowledge and insights that are going to help you achieve your vision and values. And then the best thing is that you can then share this knowledge with your team. Now, you should also encourage your team to learn and grow all the time, and then provide them with resources and the support that they might need to enable them to do that. Now, by sharing the light, you can help your team to achieve their potential and contribute to your legacy. Zig Ziglar, fantastic speaker and author and so forth, many, many years ago, talks about the way that you can be successful is by you helping others get what they want, by helping them become successful. So if you can pass on the light and encourage your team to learn and grow, and then provide them the resources and the support that they'll need to help them do so, then you're going to help them reach their potential. And as I said, that's part of your legacy in setting it up beautifully for the future. All right, step number 2 is develop a succession plan. Now, a succession plan is critical to ensure that your leadership legacy lives on after you've moved on from your role. Now, for some people, they think about, well, what do you mean? Is that when I pass away, I'm dying? No, you see, you might move on to another organization. You might move on to a different career that you want to go and do. It's a career change. But you know what? Your period of time within that organization, you're sort of building that legacy is important, because when you leave, it's actually leaving that legacy behind. Now, a really good succession plan involves identifying potential leaders who can take over from you and then providing them with the necessary training and development opportunities. Now, I would actually not just choose one. You may want to think about 1 or 2 or 3 people that could be part of your succession plan. People do move on to go and do other things as well. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. But also, they may be more areas to your legacy than just one area. So one person may be focusing on one side and others might focus on other areas. So your legacy may be a lot wider than just one role. It's really important to build a culture of leadership development within your organization so that there's a pipeline of talented leaders ready to step up when needed. In other words, you're building your bench strength. If you think about the analogy of a sporting team, and you have the players on the field or whatever they're doing, and then you have on the bench sitting, you have the reserves possibly, but really what it is it's that talent sitting on the bench ready to step up and move forward. Now, by developing your team, you're also contributing to your legacy once again, as your successors will continue to build on the foundation that you've laid. Step number 3 is mentor and develop future leaders. Now, if you can mentor and developing future leaders, well, that's a real key aspect to building a leadership legacy. Now, by sharing your experiences, knowledge, and insights, that's where you can help your team to develop their leadership skills and build their confidence. Effective mentoring involves creating a safe and supportive environment where your mentees, in other words, the people you're working with, can ask questions, can share their ideas, and receive feedback. As a mentor, you should also be open to learning from your mentees as well, and as they might have some insights and perspectives that you may not have considered. Now, I've talked about this in other episodes too, that in Hewlett-Packard, when we were there, we actually had in the HR space, we brought on a lot of graduates to come and work with us. But what we did is we actually assigned them to a vice president or a senior vice president to be mentored by them. But what we encouraged was the graduate to actually do reverse mentoring. In other words, they may actually mentor the senior vice president or vice president to help them around certain things. Now, if you think about technology today and it's fast moving, some of us may have been in roles and we may be up to date. We may know what's going on in the industry and technology, but you know what? There's a couple things here. One is they may actually know more about this brand new technology that's coming through. Second thing is is that they will be able to talk to you and share things through the lens of their generation. And so that may help us as well in the future. Step number 4 is lead by example. As a leader, you're always being watched by your team and stakeholders. I always talk about there's this microscope that we have on us as leaders. Now, leading by example means aligning your actions with your vision and your values. It's important for you to be transparent, honest, and accountable in your decision-making and communication. Now, if you demonstrate integrity, empathy, and resilience, you can inspire your team to emulate your behavior and then build, now listen to this, build a culture of excellence. Building a culture of excellence. You should also celebrate your team's success or successes and recognize their contributions, as this can really motivate them to continue striving towards your shared vision. Step number 5 is evaluate and adapt. So building a leadership legacy really requires continuous learning and improvement. It's not just learning and development, it's learning and improvement, because we can improve as we're developing and as we're learning from our experiences. Now, it's really essential to regularly evaluate your performance. I'm talking about you, your performance, and the impact that you're making, and to make adjustments as needed. So you can get feedback from your team and your stakeholders, so then you can gain valuable insights into the areas where you can improve. It's also important to stay informed about the industry trends, emerging technologies, and other factors that could impact your organization's success. That area that I just talked about is really important in the sense that with the industry trends and the emerging technologies and other factors that could be impacting the organization's success, not just the organization, but you as a leader, is really important. It's about you staying ahead of the curve. And I talk about that a lot of leaders go from email to email, meeting to meeting, so they're always busy, right? And for some of them, they're not changing quick enough, which means they run the risk of becoming irrelevant or being left behind. And a lot of leaders are afraid of that. They fear that. But I'm going to say to you, embrace it. Why? Because if you can actually stay informed about those industry trends and the emerging technologies and other factors, that's going to set you up beautifully for the future. Now, by you staying flexible and adaptable, then what's going to happen here is that you're going to ensure that your legacy remains relevant and impactful based on what I was saying earlier on. Well, just to bring it together, building a leadership legacy really involves defining your vision and values. It's developing a succession plan. It's mentoring and developing future leaders, leading by example, being a role model, and evaluating and adapting. You see, by embracing the Latin term that I've already shared with you, laminip accept et imperati, and sharing your knowledge and insights with your team, you can help to create a culture of continuous learning and development. Now, by taking these steps, you can build a legacy that inspires and empowers your team to achieve their full potential and to contribute to a better world. Now, thank you for listening to this episode today. I hope that you found those steps helpful. I'm going to encourage you to go back and re-listen to the episode again. That's the beautiful thing about the podcast. You can go backwards and forwards and keep re-listening, taking notes and learning to see what it means for you. How do you make it relevant for you? And what does it mean for you? Now, here's your call to action this week. I'm going to give you 2. I always give you 2 calls to action here. And the first one as well is to think about building a leadership legacy. Now, where are you currently with your leadership legacy? Where do you sit? Is there some areas of those 5 steps that you might need to pay attention to or do more around it? Maybe you need to do step 5, which is evaluate and adapt and then start to learn from things. But I'm going to really encourage you to embrace building your leadership legacy. Because if we all did that, can you imagine where the leadership's going to be in the future? Can you imagine where the talent's going to be in the future? It's going to be really important for us as a world to make sure that we have very strong leaders for the future. Call to action number 2. It's actually an offer. And I'm going to go through this because you see, I actually have 3 coaching spots available. Met with someone today and very, very keen I'm keen to help them, but also very keen to learn as part of that learning and development and helping them set up their beautiful leadership legacy going forward. But you know what? There are probably some people out here right now listening to this who may be unfulfilled in their current role. Great people, great talent, but they're not just fulfilled. They're actually craving for something more, and they want to go to a bigger, more exciting role, but they're unsure how to make that leap. There may be some of you right now, we're hearing about this around the world, where there are people who are being made redundant. Organizations making tens of thousands of people redundant. But for those who have been made redundant, they're not sure where to start. And so they would like to probably get some clarity around what they should be focusing on, what should be their next steps. And then they can step forward, you see, with confidence and purpose. We've got an actionable coaching and step-by-step approach that can actually help you gain that clarity and courage that you'll need to make your next move. Whether it's you wanting to go on to do a bigger thing, being a more senior role or into a larger scale organization, or you want to go out and start your own business. You see, what we can do here is that you might be a person who really wants to actually disrupt the status quo, or you're somebody who simply wants to have a greater purpose and fulfillment. The executive coaching program that I have will provide you the tools and the guidance to help you make that happen. Now, if this sounds like you, then please feel free to reach out to me and let's get on a free strategy call. That's right, it's going to be free. I just want to sit down with you on a Zoom call or a Teams call or on a phone call, have a chat with you to understand where you are at, where you want to go, and then how I might be able to help you. The whole strategy call is more about what can I do to help you and if I can help. Because you see, I want to make sure that I'm working with the right people. I'm not going to work with everybody and I'm not going to work with anybody. I need to make sure that I'm working with people who are those people who want to go to other levels, those people who are wanting and are hungry to go out there and start putting things in place to build their leadership legacy. So if you're that person and you want to get on a strategy call and I can help you understand what you might need to do to make that leap, then feel free to send me an email, Denis@leadingchangepartners.com, or send me a private message on social media. Hey listeners, well that's it for this episode. It's always a pleasure being with you. Thanks for joining me on the Leadership is Changing podcast. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.